Have you ever found yourself crying while watching a sad scene on TV? Maybe it was a character's death, a moment of loneliness, a broken relationship, and suddenly you feel a lump in your throat, a tear slipping down, even though you know it's not real. So why does it feel so real? Today, we're going to look at what psychology has to say about this. Why do we cry during movies and TV shows? What does it reveal about who we are emotionally and mentally? And is this a weakness or a sign of emotional intelligence? If you've ever wiped your tears quietly during a film and then wondered, what's wrong with me? Nothing is wrong. In fact, by the end of this talk, you'll see why those tears might be one of the strongest indicators of your capacity for empathy and emotional depth. So if you enjoy content like this, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who feels deeply just like you do. 1. Mirror neurons and empathy. Let's begin with the science. Psychologists say that one of the main reasons we cry during fictional scenes is because of something called mirror neurons. Mirror neurons are special brain cells that activate not when we do something, but when we watch someone else doing it. So when you see a character grieving on screen, your brain lights up as if you were experiencing it yourself. This is called emotional simulation. You're not just watching pain, you're momentarily feeling it. And that's not you being soft, that's your brain showing empathy in action. 2. The brain doesn't always distinguish reality from fiction. Another fascinating insight. Your brain can struggle to fully separate fictional experiences from real ones. On a logical level, yes, you know it's a show. But emotionally, your nervous system still responds as if the event is really happening. That's why your heart races during suspense. It's why you laugh during comedies. And it's why tears come during tragedy. Psychologists call this parasocial empathy. We form emotional bonds with fictional characters the same way we do with real people. So when they hurt, we hurt. When they cry, we cry. If you've ever thought, I feel too much, and this helped explain why, take a second and like this video. And if you want more talks about real emotional experiences, subscribe. This space is made for deep feelers and thoughtful minds. 3. Crying is a sign of emotional depth, not weakness. In traditional society, crying is often seen as a weakness, especially in public. But in modern psychology, emotional expression is actually a sign of mental and emotional regulation. To feel deeply and allow tears to come when moved by art or story is a trait linked to high emotional intelligence, empathy and compassion, secure emotional attachment, and even openness to experience, one of the big 5 personality traits in psychology. In fact, people who cry at movies are often more self-aware, more connected to others, and more in tune with the emotional world around them. You're not fragile, you're tuned in. 4. You might be processing unconscious grief. Sometimes, when a scene hits you harder than expected, it might not just be the story. It might be your story, surfacing without warning. Many people cry during shows because they're reminded of someone they lost, touched by a situation they've lived through, triggered by a familiar emotional wound. Psychologists say this is a form of emotional resonance. You see a moment on screen that mirrors a part of your own emotional history, and the tears you've held back find a safe way out. So crying during a scene may be your body's way of releasing stored grief. 5. Sensitive people are not weak, they're wired differently. Highly sensitive people, often referred to as HSPs, have more responsive nervous systems. They process sensory information more deeply. That includes sights, sounds, and especially emotional signals. So when something heartbreaking happens on screen, they don't just watch it, they feel it intensely. This trait isn't a flaw, it's a superpower when understood. Psychologist Elaine Aron, who coined the term HSP, explains that these people often form deeper connections, notice subtle cues others miss, and hold space for others in pain. So yes, you might cry during a TV show, but you're also probably the kind of person who can sit with a friend in their darkest moment without looking away. 6. The role of music, cinematography, and pacing. Let's not forget, movies and shows are designed to make you feel. Cinematographers, writers, and composers study emotion and use lighting to evoke warmth or tension, music to trigger memory and empathy, camera angles that mimic real intimacy or grief. Psychologists note that certain musical chords and slow-motion scenes can actually activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which causes emotional release. So when you cry during a perfectly timed montage, it's not manipulation, it's emotional architecture working as intended. If this helped you understand your emotional responses better, take a moment to like this video. And if you know someone who cries easily and needs to hear this is completely normal and even beautiful, please share it with them. 7. Is crying during movies linked to trauma? Sometimes, yes. If someone cries uncontrollably or gets emotionally flooded, it could signal unprocessed trauma or a history of emotional neglect. Psychologists explain that certain fictional scenes allow people to safely feel what they've long repressed. Especially if you were raised in an environment where emotions were dismissed, stories can become your first safe emotional mirror. That's why healing can sometimes begin through a film. It's less threatening. It allows the body to feel without shame or confrontation. 8. The catharsis effect. In ancient Greek theatre, tragedy was used for a process called catharsis, an emotional purge or cleansing. Psychologists today still use that term. When you cry at something sad, you're not just reacting, you're releasing. It can be deeply healing to feel safe enough to cry. It means you're not emotionally blocked. It means you're connected to your heart. So if a show brings you to tears, honor it. That's not manipulation. That's medicine. These are my final thoughts. You cry during movies or sad scenes, not because you're weak, but because you are open. Your nervous system is alive. Your mirror neurons are functioning. Your empathy is working. And your soul is paying attention. Some people may scroll past pain, but you stop and feel it. That's not something to hide. It's something to value. So the next time someone tells you you're too emotional because you teared up during a fictional death, tell them this. I feel what others try to avoid, and that's not a flaw. It's a gift. If this talk spoke to something inside you, like this video, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who needs to be reminded that deep feelers are often the strongest souls. And remember, those who feel deeply often heal others without even trying. Stay soft, stay strong, and I'll see you in the next one.